And then it just kind of kept resonating in my ear. A good friend of mine here told me kind of a story, but like not like one person. Like it was a story about almost every person here. The typical story of how it goes here for most guys. In fact, and why does he get so much regard? He's a Westerner-oriented business owner, a pretty big one. In somewhere in this area is all I'm going to say. I ain't outing anybody, and it's not anybody you might think. And he has a lot of experience with all this. And what he said was exactly the same thing as almost all my Western friends here have said, which is the exact same thing as every one of my Thai friends has said. So, hey, maybe we should pay attention to this one. And that is guys come here, and I think it's probably just retirement in general. I imagine. I don't know this part might not be any different than back home versus when you come here to Thailand. But guys come here and they're kind of, they're sort of doing okay. They've recently retired. Typically, the average guy that retires didn't retire somewhere else 10 years, then comes here. Most guys retire and then come right here. If this is what they want, they'll come right here. Which that's good. I think that's if you think a Southeast Asian retirement is going to make you happier. It's worked for me. Then, geez, I still can't believe that's true. My whole life, I believed I was going to retire and stay in the Detroit area, in the northern suburbs where I'm from, where I lived my whole life, and just pop down to a beach in Florida once in a while. Wow, it still messes with my head to think about how the hell did I get here? Anyway, but guys come here and they just sort of do okay. I think your average retiree just sort of does okay. I'm going to tell you what he said. And then we know that I'm telling you flat out, this is what every single other person has told me here, but you decide that for yourself, of course. But so he goes on to say, these guys show up and they don't look that great. Your average guy coming here right around 60 is, your average 60-year-old man is not in fantastic shape. I'm not saying you got to go take up a fitness competitions or something, but we could treat ourselves better, I think, is my point. And I guess that was his point. He said, they don't look that good. He goes, Rob, they don't dress very nice. They're kind of unkempt, He says he finds it almost a little embarrassing because he's a Westerner himself, and I won't say from what country. But that's fine. And then he from where he's at in his business, he can see what they're doing. I'll just tell you. And he sees them going out frequently and drinking, and all that really happens is they end up drinking basically every day. He says it takes, what was he saying? It was like a few years. He didn't give a number of years. He goes, in a few years, he goes, that's all they're doing, Rob. He goes, they're going out every day and just drinking, and they're drinking more and more, and they're stumbling home drunk every night. He goes, I see them every night. They're stumbling home drunk. He goes, and I know for a fact they're drunk because I know how much they drank. And then he'll see them paired up with a woman that makes no rational sense under the culture. This guy understands the culture rather well. He speaks Thai rather well. He has a Thai wife. It's a very nice person. I like her as well. And he's chosen wisely, as all my friends have. And I think that's a commonality we all share. Or one of them, obviously. And he goes there with an obvious, sex worker that they've retired. And the woman will follow them out to the pub and wherever they're drinking. And she follows them home as they stumble home. And they're dressed like crap. And he said, within a few years, he says they look visibly, obviously worse. And that's kind of the life cycle. And he goes, then after that, he goes, it's a few more years, and then I don't see them anymore. And we talked about that, and the sort of gruesome assumption and obvious assumption is they've probably died. Yeah, again, I know from the shocking, to me, what I revealed on the channel before, that your average guy doesn't really live very long past retiring. And coming here, I mean, that can go one way or the other. If a guy's going to lean hard into it and just go into the unhealthy lifestyle, and then that's going to be that. The other thing is a lot of guys do take just like no regard. Like I'll just say like no regard. When I talk to people, like how do they manage their personal safety? What do they do? And they're looking at me like I get the deer in headlights, you know. And again, this is an extremely safe place. These guys stumbling home drunk with their sex worker girlfriends or, you know, wives following them home, that isn't really very safe. And I'm telling you, there's almost no difference between a sex worker and a scammer. What happens is some women do legitimately go into the sex business to go find a husband. They you know, their educational background might be extremely limited. We'll just say they don't have a lot of really great ideas as to what they could possibly do. They don't really have a lot of good options as how they can earn a living. And then they, I mean, often are pressured by very not nice family members and friends to go do this work. Sometimes it's just their own little brilliant idea on their own, though. And even an idyllic situation like that, where I'm going to go find a husband. They do that type of work for. And I've interviewed several business owners of sex businesses before. I did like formal interviews, and everyone gave me the same number, 30 days. Once they've worked somewhere 30 days, they're ruined for life. They are so corrupt and black-hearted by then. They see sex as only a way to push a button on the man, which is an ATM machine, and get money. They're incapable of love at that point. I'm inclined to believe that because 3 really experienced bar owners told me the exact same thing. I dated unwisely, we'll just say in the beginning here, and I dated some not very nice ladies, and I saw that attitude in them, that I was just a machine to them that could spit out money. Kind of hurt your feelings, I'll tell you. When you figure that out, sort of like, you can skip the sort of, it really sucks, it hurts. And those ladies aren't going to care about you. They are just, so they won't have any regard for your safety and your health. Your health is part of your safety, right? And you go around dressed like crap, looking like crap, no unshaven for 5-6 days at a time, you know, no regard for your weight and health, smoking a lot, drinking all. I mean, drinking until you're drunk every day is a terrible idea if you're a 60-year-old man. That is not going to help you live longer and happier life. But then these guys have nobody around them helping them, watching out for them, watching their back. You know, I have to kind of sneak a cigar once in a while, or Fawn will really chew me out because she goes, "No healthy," you know, and it's so cute, you know. And I do limit myself to 1 a week. So this is the average. This is the typical. This is according to my one friend here, and again, everybody else that I know. No one has ever argued this point with me, or said I had an alternate explanation. And so I give you this big long story. So what's the point? So I'm gonna say, be wary, because if people come here and they tend to fall into that, I'm going to tell you it's an easy thing to fall into. Because the problem is there's no pressure here. It's a foreign culture. You got. Most of us don't speak a whole lot of the language, so you don't have a lot of people going, "Hey, man, you shouldn't do that. That's not healthy." You got none of that. You're really on your own, and you really got to use your internal navigation for everything here. And so, if you could make it inconvenient for yourself and not live like right in a big drinking or pub or sex district, I think that would really add, like, I don't know, maybe 10 years to your life. Now, my friends and I think it's like half and half. Half my friends kind of sowed some wild oats for a few months in a tourist area, and I think more than half actually did not. I mean, it's hard to tell that from what people say and how they say it. I mean, if you like more action, I mean, my life is probably pretty boring for a lot of people, and that's fine. I get that. I like it this way because I had enough excitement in my career. Like, it was so crazy, so nutty. I referred to it, even back then I was self-aware enough, I referred to it as my swashbuckling. Like I was a pirate swinging on a rope from one ship to another. I mean, it was so nuts to make enough money for every month, you know, to then start over for the next month. And it was a small business owner. You have to, you know, it's just so crazy. I've had enough excitement to last the rest of my life. Now I just pursue peace and easy, and I'll sit at a coffee shop. I'm studying my Thai. I'm sipping a coffee, and I'm sure other guys that are on their way to the pub at 10 in the morning are thinking, "Wow, what a boring guy," you know. But I think one of us is probably going to live longer than the other. But if you want more action, I don't know how to say this, but it's like my friend, he painted, I wish I could do it. He painted such an interesting and complete picture, but it was so crazy. But the real punchline was, he goes, Rob, after a couple more years, once they start drinking every day, he goes, did I never see them again? And they probably did die, right? I mean, because he lives in kind of a destination, we'll just say. People go there and don't generally move on to somewhere else. He lives in kind of a destination place, I'll just say. I want to do a video on this. I talk about this a lot, but it is the most common, most dangerous thing I see is a guy who's around my age. I'm 62, and he's not cleaned himself up, and he's not in shape. So it's much harder for a younger woman to save face being seen or being paired up with that guy. And I will admit and point out yet again for the haters, I do realize I look really old compared to Fawn. I mean, when I post any photos next to her, I look old and papery. I totally get the joke, believe me. But it would look way worse if I had another 100 pounds on me and I didn't shave for a week. That wouldn't help. That's my point, right? That wouldn't help. And I see these guys, and I'll ask Fawn, or if I'm with a couple of my Thai friends, you can think of it slightly mean, people watching, but there'd be an obvious foreign and Thai couple, and the man, I'll just say, is like the stereotypical, like what I just described, and the woman will be Fawn's size or smaller, Fawn's age or way younger, and then dressed modern, but showing cleavage. I've never seen a traditional woman not ever once show cleavage. So there's a good giveaway for you. And showing cleavage. I just said the other night we were out to dinner, and the woman was wearing short, bikini bottom shorts. But they were jeans, but they were cut to the size literally of a bikini. Like you could see everything. And she went to a nice restaurant like that. I wonder if she's a sex worker. It's so, and she had all these tattoos up and down her body. I wonder what she did for a living. Huh. Anyways, and there was somebody like that. And the answer from my Thai friends 100% is like, that's a sex worker. And I'm like, yeah, but and I'll kind of push it. Like, okay, that's the knee-jerk answer. I get that. I hang out with traditional kind of upper middle class people, as I've elaborated before. Most of my Thai friends are working professionals with fairly big degrees, and very polished, very, very, very polished people, very well spoken. And relatively sophisticated, honestly. So that's my crowd, okay? And I'll ask them these questions, and I'll push back 2, 3, 4 times with them. I'll go, no, really, do you think? And they're like, absolutely no way that is a traditional woman under our culture. They go, there's just literally zero. Nobody will do that. And so again, you get to the sex worker being almost the same as a scammer. So after 30 days, they're looking at the guy as basically an ATM machine. And it's so interesting. Like, we have this knee-jerk assumption that when we declare a monogamous relationship with a woman, that the woman's automatically thinking the same thing. And here, that is really not a thing. Those women really often, I can't say typically, but I'll just say really, really often have several other clients, boyfriends, at the same time they have you. When they're going to see their mom and they're going out with their friends for girls' night, that's typically all client activity. Thais generally don't go out at night and go drinking and things like that. That's a Western concept. The Thai people that I know are all traditional, by the way. A little bit of modern, but they're all traditional people, and core traditional. They all adhere to all the core traditional Thai values, which I think are awesome, by the way. And they might go out maybe once in a year, maybe in a couple of years they go out once. If you're with a woman and, hey, it's Thursday girls' night, hey, well, a couple times a month she goes and does her. I knew one guy. Man, and his wife was going out with her girlfriends to go out for the evening. I'll just say, I'm not going to say what they were doing, and what she told him, the excuse she told him. She's an attractive woman, and she was like a eye-catching attractive, not like just attractive. She was like sexy attractive, okay, alluring, whatever you want to call it. And she was wearing a tiny halter top, which would barely contain her robust figure, we shall say. and a short, sparkly mini skirt and heels. And she's going out dancing with her girlfriends. What do you think the odds are that she was meeting other men? What do you think the odds are of that? And it's funny because one day I saw her car, which her American boyfriend bought for her, which was really expensive because she insisted on an expensive car. There's your hint right there. And parked next to this Western guy I know car, his car. And they're parked like police cars will park side by side sometimes. They're parked like that. And as I'm driving by, I look and I out of the corner of my eye, they're both in the back seat of the one car. I can see them. And I'm like, oh shit, I didn't go say anything to anybody because there's no point. That situation was years down the road already. There's no point. There's no point. That sounds cold-hearted, but I had talked to that particular guy before, and he didn't want to hear anything. And okay, I'm not the morality police. Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe she lost something in an earring in the back seat, and he was helping her look for it. And if she did, I got a pretty good idea how she lost it. But sorry, that's not really funny. But that was sort of sad to see, though. It was interesting because I knew that guy and I didn't think he was like that, but I guess he is or was, whatever. He was also really rich, and then that'll obviously a lot of sway with these people. All they want is money. But I'm going to tell you, and then I'm going to do a separate video on this. But these scammers and the bar ladies and such, that whole lifestyle thing, they're self-destructive people. So the final point on this, because this isn't really about that, but this will be a peripheral point, is that they're completely self-destructive, and like I'm a planner and I make a plan and I'll say this and that, and like this year I'm thinking maybe I'll set aside a couple dollars and I want maybe 2 trees and 2 spots for the right angle of the sun, and I think of things like that. These people are the exact opposite. Day by day they don't know and don't care what they're doing or who they're doing it with, and they generally don't save any money. In fact, I'll tell you a spoiler alert, I've never once seen an actual scammer herself financially profit off of her scams. Yeah, they get money from the guy in the moment, but they either give it to the boss, which I think more than half of them have a boss. You probably don't want to hear that or don't believe that, but if you look deeper, you'll find that that's true. But even if they don't, even if they're a true, total independent scammer, which means they probably used to work for a boss and now they're just on their own. However they got out, they probably had to move a great distance to get out, I would assume, but that's an assumption. But when they do that, all they do is blow the money on it's typically drugs, gambling, drinking. Even alcohol. Beer is not cheap here. I'm going to be careful how I say that, but beer here costs roughly the same, more or less, as what it does in the United States. And I humbly submit for your consideration, sir, that the average U.S. citizen is significantly wealthier than the average Thai person, particularly out where I live here in the Isan region. So beer is quite pricey for them. So a woman that drinks 3, 4, 5 beers every day, that's a lot of money. That's almost like a drug habit back home. It's a big deal. And then it's this gambling. The gambling, man, is... Any woman that gambles, that would be an automatic pass if I was single and I was dating. Fawn has gambled, I think, twice in the 4 years that I've known her, and she comes and asks my permission, and I always frown on it. I always say, man, I really don't think that's a good idea. Well, I don't call her a man, but you know what I mean. And but if it's like a work thing and they're all going to do like a little tiny thing and it's like 20 baht, okay. But I've told her I really don't like that because I've seen gambling ruin people. And you'll notice that I never talk about it for myself. I have literally never gambled. I gambled in my career, and that's all the gambling and risk taking I ever want to take in my life ever again. I don't do anything anymore, but I see it as dangerous. So, and here it really is because there aren't. I think there still aren't. They're talking about making casinos in Thailand, but I think there still aren't. I've never seen one. I know that. Because all the Thais go to Cambodia. Of course, they've been blowing up the Cambodian gambling places, but it's probably a good start. But yeah, so I think the gambling here is there's the official National Thai Lottery. There is that. There's that's legal, of course. But there's a lot of this illegal stuff too. They gamble on like almost anything, and the people get hooked on it. Because the Thai culture is they tend to believe in luck as almost like it's a physical thing. And so that a person with that belief is very susceptible, in my opinion, and what I've seen here consistently, very susceptible to being hooked on gambling. I'd be careful with that. And that's those bar ladies, man. It's all the alcohol, gambling, and drugs, and they just go through money like it's water. They're like the Black Plague for finances. I mean, I've known a couple of guys that have married those ladies. Spoiler alert: their lives ended very poorly. That went extremely poorly. Please don't do that. Yeah. So that's the typical life cycle of a foreign guy coming here. It's not a pretty. I want to tell you. I wish I could have said it more colorfully like my friend did. He had it really. He painted this really ugly picture. But these guys, they started off with like no real effort, and they kind of just showed up, and then just kind of took the easy path of going to a pub and drinking regularly, and then that just increased until they just disappeared. And then they had built no one around them. They'd gathered no one around them to watch and help them, and such. Like I've got one friend. I mean, you might think he's a wild guy. He's a Thai man. He's a little intimidating looking. If you met him, you'd be like, yeah, okay, I'm not going to give that guy up. I mean that. But he's a softie and a sweetheart. And when he's a furniture maker. And when he makes furniture, which is funny, he's a tough guy furniture maker, but it's true. And sometimes I tip him or overpay him. Which he finds, I think he finds maybe almost a little insulting. So he insists I give the tip to one of his workers who made the piece. He has like 10 employees, and he runs like 3 businesses. I think he's a pretty successful guy. He must be a little bit wealthy because he owns several very expensive possessions. I'll just say, but he isn't an alcoholic. He isn't a big drinker. In fact, we'll go out. I'll have a whiskey, and a lot of times he doesn't drink at all. Good people. Surround yourself with good people. 65%, 2/3, I think, of my Thai friends don't drink at all. And the other half will have like one drink once in a rare while. And then I've got a handful that drink regularly, but none of them are like lowlifes in any way. They go out and drink with the guys, and I get invited all the time. But I mean, it's they're not doing anything unsavory. They're just kind of letting their hair down a little bit, I think they have like a once a week where the guys all get together. And I have a standing invitation to join, and I really should go more often. I probably next time, and now that I'm thinking about it, I probably need to go because I don't want to annoy Jai. They're all nice guys. I really like them. They're all nice. They just like some social drinking, and I don't. I do the George Thorogood. I tend to do the I drink alone. But in the health, not the way he sings about in that song, praise God. But I do a tiny whiskey tasting here, have a cigar, and then I'll, go back to my library. Well, after I won't probably study Thai, but I'll watch a movie on my big comfortable retirement couch. That's what I'll do. Or usually I do that right before nap time. Usually when I do that, it's either before or after nap time. Can't tell you how many days. This is a great habit. I take a nap every day. I'll wake up for my nap, which I love because when you have a good sleep, you're disoriented. And you're like, where am I? What's going on? It's like, oh, hey, this is a nice situation, And then I'll kind of stretch, walk around my property a little bit. Maybe I'll go walk by a couple of neighbors' houses and say hi or something. And then I'll come back and I'm like, yeah, well, my nap's all done. It's only 2. Heck, that's time for like a short bourbon and a little smoke. And I'll just sit up my Adirondack chair in a shady spot. Yeah, I could do that. If I'm reading a book, which is most times, I'll maybe bring my book with me. That is rather pleasant to sip a whiskey and read a book. That's a very pleasurable afternoon. For me, I love that. I'm totally at peace if I'm doing that. These are better habits. So, final point. Before you come here, focus on a list of hobbies and interests and things that you're going to pursue. That would help you. You don't want to end up like all the guys my friend knows. He was like, it was the overwhelming majority of all the Westerners he sees follow that pattern. He says, Rob, it's really bad. He goes, it's just, he goes, the guys like you and me, just aren't very many. So, which was a nice compliment. I thanked him for that. But anyways, there you go. Just a crazy thing. I'm not sure. I really couldn't focus on other content until I told this story and got this out. I thought it was something I really wanted to share for all you guys. So just something to think about, and please be careful. I owe my boy a inventory of my whiskey. Probably playing some purchases on his end back in the States. A lot of the stuff I like, you're not going to get here. I'm pretty pretty picky, pretty selective. But hang on, I'll go up a little closer. Okay, so you see the bottle of Jack Daniels there, bottom left. That's just a good everyday. And I just bought that bottle of Jim Beam in here in my village. I couldn't believe it, and it was cheap too, which I also couldn't believe. The Elijah Craig top left's one of my favorites. The Angels is good. And then I got a Gentleman Jack. Gentleman Jack's a great kind of warm-up whiskey. When you sip whiskey, you start with something 80 or 90 proof or so, and then you work up to something a little more special, kind of warm up your palate. Regular Maker's Mark, I'm kind of done with. That was a long-time favorite of mine, but it just doesn't cut it anymore. And the Uncle Nearest, right there, honorable, dishonorable mention. That used to be my favorite, incredible bourbon, and they're not making it. It doesn't taste like it used to. And I know it's not my palate. I thought it was my palate, but everything else tastes like it's supposed to. Just that one bottle does not. So sadly, that's off. Still like the Blood Oath. Blood Oath's not a top bourbon, but it's good. And the other top bourbon on my shelf, other than the Elijah Craig, would be the Wild Turkey Rare Breed. Right. There. That's just amazing. And then also made by Wild Turkey is the Russell's Reserve to the right of it. Very good. And I've got a bottle of Patron tequila. I also like tequila, secondary to bourbon, but I do like a good tequila once in a while. And Patron's one of those crazy, rare, big, popular brand names that actually lives up to its reputation. Go figure. I'm here at the Mitsubishi dealership inquiring about a car. I really like the Toyota Fortuner, and I can't believe I'm saying that. I have a chip on my shoulder about that particular model. But it is a good car. Anyhow, the Mitsubishi has one's $500,000 baht cheaper. Yeah, it's smaller. It doesn't go off-road. Don't care. But did I mention it's $500,000 baht cheaper? And it's a Mitsubishi. It's going to be good quality. It's a major Japanese brand. Anyway, so I'm asking like how much. I'm telling him how much I could. And as an example, I said do a yang, which is example. If I down payment this much, I asked about the interest, and then what would my payment be. And I say it somewhat clumsily. I pay every month how many baht. Like they have cute terms for all these things. I just clumsily bumble through it, but it works and I'm happy. So here's the actual car that we've purchased or are purchasing. I still haven't picked it up yet. The window tint is done now, and I had some surprises put on it for fun. And little shot of me there. Here's me, a $10 surgery to have a wart cut off my toe. And you get what you pay for, let me tell you. Interesting how when I turn on the camera, if it's on photo, it kind of looks one way. When I click over to video, the image I realize I'm going to say comes to life because it's moving, but the depth or color looks better. I don't know. This is Rob. Video's over. I'm closing my gate. But if you've been liking or subscribing, or and praise God if you've been a member of the channel, I really appreciate you. I appreciate everyone that watches. You have a great day.